I'm Emma Rodriguez, 32 years old, and I've been a widow since I was 30. My husband, Marcus, died of cancer when Sofia was 6. And in those 2 years since, I've watched his wealthy family erase us, like we were a mistake they're trying to forget. Growing up in a modest neighborhood in Denver, I never cared about money or status. I was an art teacher before Marcus got sick, spending my days helping kids discover color and form, finding joy in their messy creativity. Marcus loved that about me, that I saw beauty in the imperfect, the unpolished. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. His family, the Rodriguez clan, with their real estate empire and country club memberships, they never got it. To them, I was the girl from the wrong side of town who trapped their disappointment of a son. Marcus came into my life when I was 20, showing up at a community art class I was teaching. He was different from his family. Warm, thoughtful, more interested in helping people than making money. That's why he became a social worker instead of joining the family business. His mother, Patricia, never forgave him for that choice, or for choosing me. She'd smile at family dinners, all polished and composed in her designer clothes, but her eyes were cold when they landed on me. His father, Raymond, just stayed quiet, nodding along with whatever Patricia decided. And his brother Derek, the golden child running the family empire, he'd look at me with something like pity mixed with contempt. Sofia doesn't remember most of that tension. She was too young. What she remembers is her daddy making her laugh, calling her his Mariposa, his butterfly, because she was always in motion, always curious, always bright. She remembers him healthy and whole, before the cancer turned him into someone fragile and fading. This morning started with hope. Stupid, desperate hope. I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. making butterfly decorations out of construction paper and wire, my hands cramping as I twisted and shaped each one. Marcus used to say I had magic in my fingers, that I could turn ordinary materials into something special. I wanted Sofia's birthday to feel special. Even if it was just going to be in our small backyard, even if the cake was from the grocery store bakery instead of some fancy place. Sofia woke up early, her dark curls messy from sleep, wearing the oversized t-shirt that used to be Marcus's. She's 8 now, tall for her age, with his brown eyes and my stubborn chin. She came padding into the kitchen where I was setting out the butterfly decorations, and her face lit up. For a moment, everything felt okay. "Mama, they're beautiful," she said, touching one gently. Then her face shifted, got that careful look kids wear when they're trying not to hope too hard. "Do you think Abuela and Abuela will come? And Uncle Derek and Aunt Clarissa and Tyler and Madison?" My chest tightened. I'd sent the invitation 2 weeks ago to the family group chat. Simple, honest. Sofia's 8th group day party, Saturday at 2 p.m., our place. Would love to see you all. I'd even added a butterfly emoji, trying to keep it light. "Let's check," I said, because what else could I say? I couldn't lie to her. Not about this. Sofia grabbed her iPad, a hand-me-down from one of her cousins, that Derek had dropped off months ago without a word, just left it on the doorstep, like he was ashamed to knock, and opened the family chat. I watched her face as she scrolled, watched the hope drain out of her eyes like water through a sieve. "Oh," she said, her voice small. They all said no." I took the iPad from her shaking hands and read through the responses. Patricia's secretary, her actual secretary, had sent a formal message. "Mrs. Rodriguez regrets that she and Mr. Rodriguez have a prior commitment and will be unable to attend. Best wishes to Sofia." Like, my daughter was a client, not their granddaughter. Derek's response was shorter, colder. "Sorry, we've got Tyler's tournament that day. Can't make it work." But it was typed in that careful, professional way that screamed Clarissa had written it using his phone. Derek might have been weak, but at least he usually pretended to care. The extended family had followed suit. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all suddenly busy, all with excuses that were probably lies. Then, Sofia's friend Ava sent her a screenshot in a different group chat, one Sofia wasn't supposed to see. Tyler, her 10-year-old cousin, had written, "Why would we go to a party at a rental house? LOL. So sad." I watched my daughter's face crumble. She tried to hide it, turning away from me, but her shoulders shook. 8 years old, and already learning to grieve alone. "Sofia," I said, kneeling beside her, pulling her into my arms. "Baby, I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Mama." But it wasn't. Nothing about this was okay. "But Daddy would want us to keep trying. He always said family was important." That broke me. Because she was right. Marcus had spent so much time trying to bridge the gap between his two worlds, his family's wealth and status, and our modest, happy life. He'd made excuses for his mother's coldness, his father's distance, his brother's weakness. Right up to the end, he'd believed they'd come around. They hadn't. And after he died, they'd gotten worse. I grabbed my phone and texted Derek directly, my hands shaking. "Please, it's Sofia's birthday. She just wants to see you guys. Just an hour, please." The response came back fast. Too fast. From Clarissa's number, not Derek's. "We have prior commitments, Emma. Perhaps next time." Then, like an afterthought, "You should stop trying to force connections that aren't natural." Not natural. Like my daughter wasn't Derek's niece, like she wasn't Marcus's child, like 2 years of silence and dismissal was somehow our fault. I felt something inside me shift. Not break. Breaking implies it can be fixed. This was different. This was the moment I stopped making excuses for them. Stopped pretending their behavior was about grief or awkwardness or anything other than what it was. Cruelty. "You know what?" I said to Sofia, wiping her tears. "The party's still happening. Your real friends are coming. Mia, Jaden, and Ava. People who actually want to celebrate you. But, no buts. We're going to have the best birthday party ever. Just smaller. Intimate. With people who love you." Sofia nodded, trying to be brave, but I could see the hurt still there. She went to her room, probably to cry in private, like she'd learned to do. 8 years old, and already carrying grief like a weight she couldn't put down. I stood in the kitchen staring at the butterfly decorations I'd spent all night making and felt rage building in my chest. Not the hot, explosive kind, the cold, calculated kind that's been simmering for 2 years. Patricia blamed me for Marcus's death. She had said as much at the funeral, her voice dripping with contempt, even as she played the grieving mother for the crowd. If you'd pushed him harder to try the experimental treatments instead of accepting his fate, he might still be here. Like, I hadn't sat beside him through every doctor's appointment, every chemo session, every agonizing decision. Like, I hadn't watched the man I loved choose quality of life over quantity. Choose spending his last months playing with Sofia instead of being sick in some hospital trial that had a 2% success rate. After he died, the medical bills buried us. Our house, the one that Marcus and I had bought together, the one with the backyard where he taught Sofia to ride her bike, we had to sell it. Moved into this rental townhouse, smaller, cheaper, in a neighborhood where Sofia's cousins would never visit, even if they wanted to. I went from teaching art to working retail at Target, folding clothes and scanning groceries because the hours were flexible and the insurance was decent. Patricia knew all this. She knew we were struggling. She showed up once, 3 months after the funeral, sat in our living room in her Chanel suit, and looked around like she was cataloging poverty. "I can help," she said. But there were conditions in her voice, strings attached. She wanted control. Wanted me to admit I'd failed Marcus, failed Sofia. I'd thanked her and said no. Pride, maybe, or just the last shred of dignity I had left. Derek was different. He felt guilty. I could see it in the way he couldn't meet my eyes at family gatherings before they stopped inviting us. A few months ago, I started getting anonymous cash deposits. $500 here, $800 there.
Enough to help with groceries, with Sofia's school supplies. I knew it was him. The guilt payments of a man who couldn't stand up to his family, but couldn't live with himself either. My phone buzzed. A voicemail. I almost ignored it. Didn't have the energy for another telemarketer or debt collector, but something made me check. Mrs. Rodriguez, this is Gerald Novak from Denver Storage Solutions. I apologize for calling on a Saturday, but I have a matter regarding a storage unit rented by Marcus Rodriguez. The unit has specific access instructions that have now been met. If you could call me back at your earliest convenience. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, Marcus's name echoing in my head. A storage unit? Marcus never mentioned a storage unit. Sofia appeared in the doorway, eyes red but determined. Mama, can we start decorating? Maybe if the backyard looks
Artist, all fierce edges and loyalty, raising her own kid alone after her ex bailed. She took one look at my face and knew. They didn't come, she said, not a question. Didn't even pretend they might. Bastards. She hugged me hard, smelling like cigarettes and sandalwood. Sofia okay? She's trying to be. Jade helped us finish decorating, cracking jokes and making Sofia laugh despite everything. But when Sofia went inside to get changed, Jade cornered me by the drink table. You gotta cut them off, Em, she said. This is abuse. Making that kid hope and then crushing her over and over? I can't, I said, hating how weak I sounded. Sofia still wants them in her life. She doesn't understand. She understands plenty. She understands they don't value her. That's the lesson she's learning. It's complicated. It's not. Jade's eyes flashed. They're rich assholes who think they're better than you. They always have. Marcus was the only one who saw through their bullshit, and now he's gone, and they don't have to pretend anymore. I wanted to argue, but she was right. I'd been making excuses for them for years, even before Marcus died. Telling myself Patricia's coldness was just her personality, that Raymond's silence wasn't rejection, that Derek was trying his best. But the truth was simpler and uglier. They looked down on me, and by extension, they looked down on Sofia. We were the mistake they wanted to forget. What about that voicemail? Jade asked, nodding at my phone. From the storage place? I'd told her about it while we were lighting hangings. Now I pulled up my phone and listened again, putting it on speaker so she could hear. Storage unit rented by Marcus Rodriguez. Specific access instructions that have now been met. What's that mean? Jade asked. I don't know. Marcus never mentioned renting a storage unit. You gonna call them back? I looked at the backyard, decorations swaying in the breeze, a small folding table with presents for me and Jade and Sofia's school friends, a grocery store cake that said, Happy Birthday, Sofia, in blue frosting. It was modest, humble, and it would have to be enough. After the party, I said, right now, I need to focus on Sofia. But even as I said it, my mind was racing. Marcus had kept secrets at the end. I knew that. He'd spend hours on his laptop writing things, organizing things, always with that sad smile when I asked what he was working on. Just tying up loose ends, babe, he'd say, making sure you two are taken care of. I assumed he meant his life insurance, his will, the practical stuff. But a storage unit with access instructions that were triggered now, exactly 2 years after his death? That wasn't practical. That was something else. Sofia's party started at 2 p.m. Mia showed up first, shy and sweet, holding a present wrapped in newspaper because her family didn't have much either. Jaden came next, all energy and superhero obsessions, immediately challenging Sofia to a race around the yard. Ava arrived last with her mom, who gave me a knowing look and squeezed my shoulder. She'd heard about the Rodriguez family's rejection. Word traveled fast in our neighborhood. The party was small but joyful. We played games Marcus used to organize. Musical chairs, freeze dance, a scavenger hunt Jade had set up. Sofia laughed, really laughed. And for those few hours, I let myself believe that maybe we'd be okay. Maybe we didn't need the Rodriguez family. Maybe chosen family was enough. But then it was time for cake. Sofia stood in front of it, candles flickering, and closed her eyes to make her wish. I knew what she was wishing for. The same thing she wished for every night before bed, that her daddy could see her,
that he was proud of her. "I wish Daddy could see this," she whispered, so quiet I almost didn't hear. My throat closed up. Jade's hand found mine and squeezed. "He can, baby," I said, my voice breaking. "He can." Sophia blew out the candles, and the kids cheered, and I managed to hold it together through cake and presents and goodbyes. But as the sun started to set and the last guest left, I felt the weight of it all crash down on me. Sophia was in her room, exhausted and finally letting herself cry. Jade was cleaning up the backyard, giving me space. I stood at the kitchen sink, hands in soapy water, and let myself think about the voicemail. A storage unit? Specific access instructions triggered 2 years after his death? Marcus had planned something big enough to hide, important enough to time. And whatever it was, he'd meant it for me to find it now, on Sophia's 8th birthday, the day his family rejected her again. That couldn't be a coincidence. I dried my hands and grabbed my phone, finding the voicemail, saving the number. Tomorrow I'd call Gerald Novak and find out what my husband had been hiding. Tonight, I just needed to be here for Sophia. But as I climbed the stairs to her room, I felt something shift inside me. Not hope, exactly. More like determination. Marcus had left us something. And whatever it was meant for this moment. The moment his family proved they didn't deserve us. The moment I finally stopped making excuses for them. The moment I realized Sophia and I had been fighting for people who would never fight for us. I found Sophia curled up on her bed, still wearing her butterfly necklace, clutching a photo of Marcus. She looked up at me with those brown eyes so much like his, and I saw it. The same look Marcus used to get when he was planning something clever, something that would change everything. "Mama," she said, "can we go somewhere tomorrow? Just you and me?" "Where, baby?" "I don't know. Somewhere Dad would want us to go." I thought about the voicemail, about Gerald Novak, and the storage unit with its mysterious timing. Yeah, I think I know exactly where we need to go. The morning after Sophia's birthday, I woke up to find her already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor with her iPad, watching old videos of Marcus. I stood in the doorway, watching her, and felt my heart crack all over again. She had one of his favorites, her 6th birthday party, back when we still lived in the real house, back when Marcus was alive. In the video, he was wearing a butterfly antenna headband Sophia had made him, his face bright with laughter as she tried to put face paint on him. He looked healthy in that video, strong. You wouldn't know he was dying unless you knew where to look. The slight thinness to his face, the way he moved just a little slower than he used to. That party had been 2 months before he died. He knew it. The doctors had given him 3 months, maybe 4, and he'd spent those last few weeks making sure Sophia's birthday was perfect. Bounce house, face painting, all her friends from preschool. Patricia and Raymond had shown up for an hour, stiff and uncomfortable, leaving before the cake. Derek and his family stayed longer, but Clarissa kept checking her watch like she had somewhere better to be. Marcus had ignored all of it, focusing entirely on Sophia, determined to give her one last perfect memory. "Mama," Sophia said without turning around. She'd sensed me there. On the screen, Marcus was singing Happy Birthday, his voice clear and strong. "Yeah, baby, I can hear it." "I'm forgetting what he sounds like," she said, her voice small. "Sometimes I try to remember and I can't. I have to watch the videos to hear him again." That gutted me. 2 years? 2 years, and already her memories were fading, becoming less solid, more like dreams. She was so young when he died. "That's okay," I said, pulling her close. "That's what the videos are for, so we can remember together." "Tell me the butterfly story again, about why Daddy called me Butterfly." I'd told her the story 100 times, but she never got tired of hearing it. It was a way of keeping him alive, making him present in a room where he never would be again. "You were 2 years old," I said, settling into the familiar rhythm of the story. "We were at the botanical gardens, and they had this butterfly exhibit. And you were obsessed. You kept running from flower to flower trying to catch them. And every time one landed near you, you'd freeze and hold your breath, just watching." Sophia smiled, eyes still on the screen where Marcus was cutting her cake. "Did your dad watch you for an hour?" He turned to me and said, "She's like them. always moving, always curious, always bringing color everywhere she goes. From that day on, you were his mariposa, his butterfly. Did Abuela and Abuelo know he called me that? The question caught me off guard. Yeah, they knew. Then why don't they call me that? Why don't they want to see me? I didn't have a good answer. Didn't have any answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. How do you explain to a child that some people let grief turn them cruel? That her grandparents blamed her for their son's death and punished her in extension? They're hurting, I said, which felt like a cop-out even as I said it. When people hurt, sometimes they don't know how to love the way they should. Daddy hurt. He was sick and dying, and he still loved me. Out of the mouths of babes. She was right. Marcus had been in pain, had known he was leaving us, and he'd still shown up every day with love and patience and joy. Then why can't they be like him? I had no answer for that. We sat there watching videos for another hour, Marcus teaching her to ride a bike, Marcus reading her bedtime stories, Marcus at the park pushing her on the swings, his laughter mixing with hers. Every video was a reminder of what we'd lost, but also what we'd had. And I realized Sofia was right to watch them, to hold on to these pieces of him, even if it hurt. Around 10 a.m., Jade showed up with coffee and pastries, letting herself in through the back door like she always did. She found us still in our pajamas, eyes red from crying. "Rough morning?" she asked, setting the coffee on Sofia's dresser. "We're watching dad videos," Sofia explained. Jade sat down on the floor with us, and we went through more memories. She'd never met Marcus. He died before we met in that grief group, but she'd heard enough stories to feel like she knew him. "Your dad would have liked that party yesterday," Jade said to Sofia. "Small, but
I wish he could have been there. Me too, kiddo." After Sofia got up to brush her teeth and get dressed, Jade turned to me with that look, the one that said she was about to push me to do something I didn't want to do. "You gonna call that storage place?" she asked. "Yeah, I was thinking we'd go today, actually." Sofia asked if we could go somewhere her dad would want us to go. "And you think that's it?" "I don't know what it is, but the timing." I shook my head. 2 years exactly, on her birthday. Marcus was always so deliberate about everything. Jade pulled out her phone and looked up Denver Storage Solutions. "It's over on East Colfax, 20 minutes from here." "You think I should go?" "Hell yes, I think you should go." Marcus wouldn't have done this without a reason. I thought about that. Marcus had always been a planner, even before he got sick. When we found out about the cancer, he'd immediately started organizing, making lists, setting things up. He'd updated his will, organized his files, written letters to Sofia to open on future birthdays. I thought I'd found everything, but apparently not. "What if it's nothing?" I said. "What if it's just old furniture or boxes of his stuff from the office?" "Then it's nothing." "But what if it's something?" I called Gerald Novak while Sofia was in the shower. He answered on the second ring, his voice warm and professional. "Mrs. Rodriguez? Thank you for calling back. I apologize for the timing yesterday. I try not to make calls on weekends, but Mr. Rodriguez's instructions were very specific about the date." "What instructions?" "The storage unit was rented 3 years ago with very particular access parameters. It was to remain locked, completely inaccessible, until exactly 2 years after Mr. Rodriguez's date of death. At that point, I was instructed to contact you immediately." My stomach flipped. 3 years ago? That was 6 months before his death, according to our records. 6 months before he died, right after his diagnosis. Marcus had known he was dying and planned something, hidden something, and timed its reveal for this exact moment. "What's in it?" I asked. "I don't know, ma'am. Mr. Rodriguez didn't disclose the contents to me, but he paid for the unit in advance for 10 years, and he left very detailed instructions about access. Only you can open it, and only after the time lock released." "Can we come today?" "Absolutely. I'll be here until 4 p.m. After hanging up, I told Sofia we were going on an adventure. She lit up at that. Marcus used to call errands adventures to make them more exciting.
We got dressed and drove across town, Jade following on her motorcycle in case we needed backup, which made me smile. She was protective like that. Denver Storage Solutions was a sprawling complex of identical orange buildings, the kind of place that looks the same in every city. Gerald Novak met us at the main office, a man in his late 50s with kind eyes and a wedding ring he kept touching, like he was remembering someone. "Mrs. Rodriguez," he said, shaking my hand. "And you must be Sofia." "Hi," Sofia said, shyly. "Your father was a good man," Gerald said. "He came here many times in those last months. Always cheerful, always thoughtful. We talk sometimes, about life, about family. He loved you both very much." My throat tightened. "You knew he was sick?" "I suspected. You can see it after a while when someone's running out of time. They move different, talk different, like they're trying to fit too much into too little space." That was exactly right. Marcus's last months had been like that. Compressed, intense, every moment deliberately chosen. Gerald led us through the maze of storage buildings to Unit 247. It was larger than I expected, one of the climate-controlled units, not a small locker. He pulled out a key and handed it to me. "He wanted you to open it," he said. "I'll be in the office if you need anything." Jade stood behind us as I slid the key into the lock. My hands were shaking. Sofia pressed against my side, holding onto my shirt. The lock clicked. The door rolled up. Inside was everything. The unit wasn't dusty or dim. Marcus had set up lighting that turned on automatically, and the space was organized like one of his projects. Everything labeled, everything intentional. Boxes lined the walls, each labeled with Sofia's age. Sofia age 9, Sofia age 10, Sofia age 11, all the way up to Sofia age 18. 10 years worth of birthdays, planned and prepared, waiting in a storage unit for her to grow into them. But that's not all. Against the far wall was a small table with a TV and video camera set up. A bright pink sticky note was attached to the screen. "Play me first." Sofia saw it and ran forward, her feet echoing in the empty space. I followed, my vision blurring with tears. "Mama, it's Daddy," she said, pointing at the note. "This is his handwriting." I pressed play. The screen flickered to life, and there he was, Marcus, my husband. Thin and pale, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion, but smiling that smile I'd fallen in love with 12 years ago. He was sitting in what looked like a hotel room. He must have recorded this away from home so I wouldn't find out. Wearing his favorite flannel shirt. "Hi, my girls," he said, and Sofia made a sound like she'd been punched. If you're watching this, it means two things. One, I've been gone for 2 years, and two, Sofia just had her 8th birthday. He looked directly at the camera, and it felt like he was looking at us, like he was right there. "Sofia Mariposa, happy birthday. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person. I wanted to be. I wanted to see you grow up, wanted to teach you to drive and embarrass you at school dances and walk you down the aisle someday. But life had other plans." Sofia was crying silently, touching the screen with her fingers. "I know things have been hard. I know my family hasn't been there for you the way they should. I hoped they would be, but I also knew them well enough to plan for this. So, I did something. I spent my last months preparing, planning, making sure you'd have pieces of me for all the birthdays I'd miss." The camera angle shifted as he stood up, and I could see he was in pain, moving carefully. He walked to show boxes in the background, all labeled. "There's something for every birthday until you turn 18. Letters, gifts, videos, things I wanted you to have. Your mom knows where everything is now, and she'll help you with them." He sat back down, and his expression got more serious. "Emma, my love, I know you're watching this too. I know you've been carrying everything alone. I know how hard it's been, and I know my family has let you down." He paused. "I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry I didn't stand up to them more when I was alive. I'm sorry I left you to deal with them." My hands were shaking so hard Jade had to steady me. "There's an envelope in the top drawer of the table. It's for my family, my parents, Derek, all of them. I need you to give it to them, Emma. I need them to see it. I should have said these things when I was alive, but I was too much of a coward. I was always trying to keep the peace, always trying to make everyone happy. But that's not fair to you and Sofia." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "You deserve better. Sofia deserves better. And if they can't see that, if they can't show up for you, then they don't deserve to be in your lives. But I'm giving them one more chance. One more chance to prove they can be the family I always hoped they would be." The video showed him pulling out a piece of paper and reading from it. There's also practical stuff. Financial documents, trust information, a college fund I set up for Sofia. Gerald has copies of everything. I tried to take care of you both the best way I could. His voice cracked. "I love you so much. Both of you. You were the best parts of my life, the parts I was most proud of. Emma, you made me better. You made me brave enough to choose a life that made me happy instead of one that made my parents happy. And Sofia, you are everything good in this world. You're kind and creative and so much stronger than you know." He wiped his eyes. "I have to go now, but I'm not really gone. I'm in every birthday box, every letter, every video. I'm in the way you laugh, Sofia, and in the way you see beauty everywhere, Emma. I'm in your memories and in your hearts, and that's enough. That has to be enough." The video ended with him blowing a kiss to the camera. Sofia and I stood there in that storage unit, holding each other and sobbing. Jade was crying too, not even trying to hide it. Daddy planned all this. He knew we'd need this. I looked around at the boxes, at the years of love and planning Marcus had put into this space. He knew. He knew his family would fail us. He knew I'd be struggling. He knew Sofia needed something to hold on to. And he spent his last months when he should have been resting, should have been savoring every moment, preparing this for us, making sure we'd be okay. I opened the top drawer of the table like he'd instructed. Inside was a large manila envelope labeled, "For the Rodriguez family." Next to it was another envelope labeled, "For Emma, when you're exhausted." I took them both out, held them against my chest. "Can we open a box?" Sofia asked. "The one that says age 8? We found it easily. Marcus had organized everything. Inside was a wrapped present with a card attached. Sofia's hand shook as she opened it. The card said, "Happy 8th birthday, Mariposa. This necklace is better than the one from Claire's, but I hope you'll still keep that one too. I love you to the moon and back. Forever, Dad."
Some people in our family might not show up the way you need them to. That's their loss, not yours. Never let anyone make you feel small. Never let anyone make you doubt your worth. Keep being curious. Keep being kind. Keep being exactly who you are. I'll be watching over you, my butterfly. Always. Love, Dad. Sofia clutched the letter to her chest. We stayed in that storage unit for another hour, going through the age 8 box, finding a photo album Marcus had made, a list of his favorite memories with her, a recipe for his famous pancakes written in his handwriting so she could make them when she was older. Every item was chosen with care. Every word was deliberate. He'd known exactly what we'd need. As we loaded things into the car, we took the age 8 box and the videos, leaving the rest for later. I kept thinking about the envelope for the Rodriguez family. Marcus had left them a message, a challenge, and I was done making excuses for them. If Marcus thought they needed to see this, then they would see it. Not because I was trying to fix anything, but because he'd asked me to. Because I owed it to Marcus to honor his wishes, even if it meant making his family uncomfortable. That night, after Sofia fell asleep wearing both her butterfly necklaces, I sat at the kitchen table with the envelope for the Rodriguez family and the one marked for me. Jade had gone home, but promised to come back tomorrow to help with whatever came next. I opened my envelope first. Emma, if you're reading this, you're exhausted. I know you. I know how hard you push yourself, how much you carry without complaint. I know you've been trying to keep everyone happy, to maintain peace, to make sure Sofia doesn't feel the loss too deeply. Stop. You can't carry everything. You can't fix my family. You can't make them love you and Sofia the way they should. That's their choice, not your failure. I married you because you saw beauty in broken things. You believed in second chances. You thought love could bridge any gap. And I loved that about you, but Emma, some gaps are too wide. Some people don't want to be bridged. My mother will blame you for my death because it's easier than blaming herself for pushing me toward a life I never wanted. My father will stay silent because he's been silent our whole lives. Derek will feel guilty but won't act on it because he's too afraid of disappointing them. Don't wait for them to change. Don't make Sofia wait for them to change. You are enough. You have always been enough. You didn't trap me or marry up or any of the other garbage they've probably said. You saved me. You gave me permission to choose my own life, my own path. You gave me Sofia. You gave me happiness. The medical bills, the financial stress, I'm so sorry I left you with that. I tried to plan as best I could. There's money in the trust, money for Sofia's college, money to help you breathe a little easier. Gerald has all the documents. But more than money, I'm giving you permission to be angry, permission to cut ties with people who hurt you, permission to move on, to date again, to find love again. Sofia needs a happy mother more than she needs a martyred one. I'm gone, Emma, and I hate that. I hate that I won't grow old with you, won't see Sofia graduate, won't meet my grandchildren someday. But I'm not so selfish that I expect you to stop living. Find joy. Find love. Find yourself again beneath all the grief and stress and responsibility. And when you're ready, when Sofia asks about my family, when they push back, when you're tempted to make excuses for them again, remember this. You deserve better. Sofia deserves better. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I love you. I will always love you. But you have to live. Forever yours. Marcus. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. He'd known exactly what I'd need to hear, exactly when I'd need to hear it. He'd given me permission to stop trying so hard, to stop making myself smaller to accommodate people who would never appreciate it. The envelope for his family sat next to me, sealed and waiting. I thought about just throwing it away, pretending it didn't exist. It would be easier, safer, less confrontational. But Marcus had written it for a reason. He'd spent his dying days preparing not just gifts for Sofia, but truth for his family. Truth he was too afraid to speak when he was alive, too conflict-averse to force them to hear. He was giving me the weapon he never had the courage to use himself. I picked up my phone and opened the family group chat. The same chat where they'd all rejected Sofia's party invitation, where Tyler had mocked us, where Patricia's secretary had sent that cold, formal message. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. One text. That's all it would take. One text to detonate everything. But something stopped me. Not fear, not people-pleasing, strategy. If I sent this now, late at night, they'd have time to prepare their defenses, to discuss their response, to present a united front. Patricia would control the narrative, Derek would fall in line, Raymond would stay silent. No. If I was going to do this, if I was going to honor Marcus's wishes and finally demand they see us, I needed to do it on my terms, in a way that would force them to act, not react. I thought about Sofia's 9th birthday, a year away, about all the birthdays after that, about Marcus's careful planning, his attention to timing, his understanding that some messages need the perfect moment to land. The party was that moment. The rejection was that moment. And Marcus had known it would be. I put my phone down and picked up the envelope for his family. I'd watch the video first, understand what Marcus wanted them to know, and then I'd decide how to deliver it. Not tonight, not in anger or grief or exhaustion. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I'd watch it and I'd make a plan. Because that's what Marcus had taught me. That some battles require preparation, that love sometimes means fighting, that the strongest stance
isn't always the loudest one. I went upstairs and checked on Sofia. She was sleeping peacefully, both butterfly necklaces glinting in the dim light from her nightlight. On her nightstand sat the letter from Marcus, the photo album, and her iPad paused on one of his videos. She'd fallen asleep to the sound of her father's voice. And I realized that's all we'd really needed all along. Not his family's approval, not their presence at parties, not their conditional, reluctant love. Just him. Just the pieces of him that he'd left behind. Just the proof that we'd been loved completely, even if we'd lost him too soon. I climbed into bed and held Marcus's letter to my chest, reading it one more time in the darkness.
You deserve better. Sofia deserves better. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Maybe walking away was the answer. But first, I'd give them one last chance. Not for them, for Marcus, for the man who'd spent his last days hoping his family would prove him wrong, even while preparing for them to prove him right. One last chance. And then, if they failed, when they failed, I'd finally let them go. The next morning, I called Gerald Novak and told him we'd be coming back. There was too much in that storage unit to process in one visit, and Sofia kept asking questions I couldn't answer yet. How long did Daddy spend there? She'd ask over breakfast. Did he bring all my presents at once or one at a time? I didn't know, but Gerald would. We arrived at Denver Storage Solutions around 10 a.m. Gerald was waiting for us at the office, 2 cups of coffee ready, one for me, one for Jade, who'd insisted on coming again. He hoped you'd come back, he said, handing me a folder. Mr. Rodriguez left these for you, instructions mostly, and some context. The folder contained a timeline. Marcus had rented the unit 6 months before he died, right after his diagnosis. He'd visited 43 times in those 6 months, sometimes daily, sometimes staying for hours. He'd bring boxes, he said, sitting across from us in the small office, always carefully wrapped. He told me once that he was preparing for a trip, that he wanted to make sure his family had everything they'd need while he was gone. He said trip? I asked. Yes, ma'am. I knew what he meant, of course. You can see it in someone when they're preparing to leave. But he kept it light, kept smiling, even when I could tell he was in pain. Sofia was quiet, taking it all in. She'd brought her iPad with more of Marcus's videos downloaded, clutching it like a security blanket. Did he talk about me? She asked. Gerald's expression softened. All the time. He showed me pictures, told me stories. He said you were the smartest, funniest, most beautiful girl in the world. He said you love butterflies and art and asking questions about everything. Sofia's eyes filled with tears. I miss him. I know, sweetheart, but he made sure you'd have pieces of him for a long time. That's real love. Gerald handed me another document. There's this, financial information. Mr. Rodriguez was very thorough. I scanned the papers. Marcus had set up a trust fund for Sofia, $150,000 for her college education, untouchable until she was 18. There was also a life insurance policy I'd known about, but what I hadn't known was that he'd taken out a second policy and put it into an investment account that had been growing for 2 years. This can't be right, I said, looking at the balance. This says there's $87,000. That's correct. Mr. Rodriguez was strategic about his planning. He knew the medical bills would be substantial, so he made sure there was money set aside that creditors couldn't touch. It's in a specific type of trust that protects it. $87,000. Money that could change everything. Money that Marcus had hidden away while I'd been drowning in medical debt, selling our house, working 2 jobs. Why didn't he tell me? I asked, my voice cracking. He left you a letter about that too, Gerald said, pulling another envelope from the folder. He said you'd ask that question. I opened it right there, hands shaking. Emma, I know you're angry right now. Angry that I kept secrets, that I let you struggle while this money sat here waiting. I'm sorry. But here's the truth. If I'd told you about this money while I was alive, you would have spent it on me, on experimental treatments I didn't want, on flying to specialists who couldn't help, on miracles that don't exist. You would have sacrificed everything trying to save me, and I couldn't let you do that. I chose quality time over quantity. I chose days with Sofia at the park over weeks in a hospital.
I chose dying at home in your arms over dying alone in a clinical trial. The money is for after, for rebuilding, for giving Sofia the life she deserves, for giving yourself permission to breathe. Use it wisely, use it without guilt, use it to be happy. That's what I want. That's what I've always wanted. Forever yours, Marcus. Jade read over my shoulder and let out a low whistle. He thought of everything. He did, Gerald confirmed. Mr. Rodriguez spent weeks planning this. He consulted with lawyers, financial advisors, even asked me about the best way to secure a storage unit long term. He wanted everything perfect. We went back to the unit. In daylight, with less emotion clouding my vision, I could see the full extent of what Marcus had done. It wasn't just birthday boxes. There were labeled sections for different purposes. For Sofia's milestones, first day of high school, graduation, college move-in, wedding day, first child, each with letters and small gifts. For hard days, a whole shelf of envelopes labeled things like, when you're feeling lost, when you miss me too much, when you're angry I'm not there, when you need dad advice. For Emma's journey, letters for our anniversary dates, for holidays, for moments Marcus knew I'd struggle. Family videos, dozens of recorded messages for different ages and situations. And in the back, a section labeled The Reckoning. That's where I found the video for his family. The Reckoning? Jade said, raising an eyebrow. That's dramatic, even for a dying man. I set up the TV again and inserted the disc. Sofia curled up next to me and Jade stood behind us. This video was different from the one we'd watched yesterday. That one had been loving, gentle, for us. This one, Marcus appeared on screen and his expression was harder. Not angry, exactly, but resolute, determined. Mom, Dad, Derek. If you're watching this, it means Emma gave you this video, which means you probably failed. Again. His voice was steady but sharp.
I'm recording this 6 months before I die. I know exactly how much time I have left. The doctors have been very clear, and I know how you'll react when I'm gone. I know you'll blame Emma. I know you'll pull away from Sofia. I know you'll use my death as an excuse to finally cut ties with the life I chose that you never approved of. He leaned forward. Here's what you don't know. I see you. I've always seen you. I know Mom blames Emma for distracting me from my career, from the family business, from the life you planned for me. I know Dad thinks I wasted my potential becoming a social worker instead of a real estate mogul. I know Derek is caught between loyalty to you and guilt about how you treat my wife. Sofia stirred next to me. Is Daddy mad at them? He's disappointed, I said quietly. On screen, Marcus continued. Let me be clear about something. Emma didn't trap me. She didn't distract me. She saved me. Before her, I was living a life that made you happy and made me miserable. I was on track to take over the business, to marry someone from the right family, to be exactly who you wanted me to be. He paused. And I was dying inside. Not from cancer, that came later. From the slow death of living a life that wasn't mine. Emma gave me permission to choose differently, to choose happiness, to choose meaning over money, love over status, family over image. His voice got harder. When I told you I was dying, you pushed experimental treatments, clinical trials with 2% success rates, treatments that would have given me maybe 3 more months of agony instead of 6 months of life. You called Emma weak for supporting my decision to choose quality over quantity. You said she should fight harder for me. I remembered that conversation. Patricia had cornered me at the hospital, her voice cold and accusing. If you really loved him, you'd make him try everything. Here's the truth, Mom. Emma loved me enough to let me go. You loved me so much you wanted to keep me alive even if it meant torture. Those aren't the same thing. Marcus's eyes glistened. I'm making this video because I know what's coming. I know you'll freeze Emma out. I know you'll treat Sofia like she doesn't exist. I know you'll use your grief as an excuse for cruelty. He pulled out a piece of paper. I've made specific predictions. Let's see how many come true. He read from the list. 1. You'll blame Emma for my death within 6 months. 2. You'll stop attending family events if Emma is there. 3. You'll reduce contact with Sofia to the bare minimum. 4. You'll send money occasionally to assuage your guilt, but never actually show up. 5. You'll make Emma feel like she's not good enough for our family. 6. When Sofia needs you most, on her birthdays, at her school events, during the hard moments, you'll have prior commitments. Each word hit like a hammer, because he'd been right about all of it. If I'm wrong, if you've been there for them, if you've loved them the way they deserve, then this video is me apologizing. Ignore everything I said. I'm sorry for doubting you. He looked directly at the camera. But if I'm right, if you've done exactly what I predicted, then you need to understand something. You're not grieving me. You're avoiding the discomfort of loving people who remind you that I chose differently than you wanted. His voice cracked slightly. Sofia is my daughter, my legacy. She has my eyes, my sense of humor, my love of questions. She's everything good I ever did in this world. And if you can't see that, if you can't love her unconditionally, then you don't deserve to be in her life. He wiped his eyes. Derek, you've been sending money. I know about that. I set it up so Emma would know it's from you. Thank you. But brother, money isn't presents. Guilt isn't love. Stand up. Be the uncle Sofia needs. Be the support Emma deserves. Stop choosing mom and dad's approval over doing what's right. The camera zoomed closer. Mom, Dad, I was your son. You raised me, loved me in your own way, but your love always came with conditions. Be successful, marry right, make us proud. I spent 30 years trying to meet those conditions before I realized they were impossible. He softened. I don't want that for Sofia. I don't want her growing up feeling like she has to earn love, like she's only valuable if she meets arbitrary standards. She deserves better. Emma deserves better. He paused, gathering himself. Here's what I'm asking. Show up. Really show up. Not with money or obligatory phone calls, with presence, with love, with the kind of unconditional support you never gave me. He looked exhausted suddenly, the sickness showing through. I've spent months preparing for their future. Birthday presents, letters, videos, financial security. I've done everything I can from beyond the grave. But there's one thing I can't do. I can't make you choose to love them. He sat back down, looking directly into the camera one last time. So, here's my challenge. Prove me wrong. Show up for Sofia's birthday. Actually show up, not with excuses or secretary's emails, but with presence. Show Emma respect. Show Sofia unconditional love. Be the family I always hoped you'd be. His voice got very quiet. Or, let them go. Let them build a life without you because they deserve happiness, even if it means cutting out people who hurt them. He reached forward, his hand hovering over the camera.
I love you. I always will. But I love Emma and Sofia more. And if you can't respect that, if you can't honor that, then goodbye. The screen went black. We sat in silence. Sofia was crying. Jade was staring at the blank screen with her mouth open, and I felt something shift inside me. Not just anger or grief, but clarity. Marcus had seen everything, had known everything, and he'd spent his dying days trying to protect us from his family's conditional love. Are we going to show them? Sofia asked quietly. Abuela and Abuelo and Uncle Derek? I looked at her. 8 years old, wearing 2 butterfly necklaces, still hoping her father's family would love her. Yes, I said. We're going to show them. What if they don't come? What if they watch it and still don't want us? I pulled her close. Then we know. And we stop hoping for something they can't give us. Jade squeezed my shoulder. You're really going to do this? Marcus asked me to, and he was right. They need to see this. They need to know that he saw them, that he knew what they'd do, and that he's giving them one last chance. And if they blow it, then we're done. No more excuses, no more making Sofia wait for people who will never arrive. We spent the rest of the day in the storage unit, going through more boxes, reading more letters, watching more videos. Marcus had prepared for everything. First days of school, friendship problems, boy troubles, college decisions, career choices. He thought of every possible moment Sofia might need her dad and tried to be there for it. The man was dying, and he spent his time doing this. Not resting, not traveling, not checking off bucket list items, just preparing, planning, making sure we'd be okay. He really loved us, Sofia said as we were packing up to leave. He really did. That night, I made a decision. Tomorrow was Sunday. Tomorrow, I'd send the video to the Rodriguez family. I'd give them 1 week to respond, to prove Marcus wrong, to show up. And if they didn't, then I'd finally do what Marcus had asked me. I'd let them go. I'd stop making excuses. I'd stop teaching Sofia that love means waiting for people who never arrive. I'd choose us over them. For the first time in 2 years, that felt like the right choice. Sunday morning, I woke up with Marcus's envelope for his family sitting on my nightstand. I'd watched his video 3 times the night before, memorizing every word, every pause, every moment where his voice cracked with emotion. He'd been right about everything. Every single prediction he had made had come true. And now, I had to decide whether to detonate this truth bomb or let sleeping dogs lie. My phone buzzed. Jade. I regretted typing it the second I hit send, but it was true. Marcus wanted a lot of things. He wanted to live. He wanted to see Sofia grow up. He wanted his family to be better. Wanting something doesn't make it happen. He was right, though, about all of it. I knew she was right. That was the problem. Marcus's predictions had been devastatingly accurate. His family had done exactly what he had feared, exactly what he had prepared for. But sending this video would start a war. Patricia didn't take criticism well. I'd learned that the hard way over years of subtle digs and cold shoulders. Raymond would circle the wagons. Derek would probably have a crisis. And what would it accomplish? Would it actually change anything, or would it just give them ammunition to claim I was manipulating them with a dead man's words? Jade showed up 20 minutes later with breakfast burritos, and that look that said she wasn't leaving until I made a decision. "You're overthinking this," she said, settling into the chair across from me. "I'm thinking the appropriate amount. Marcus spent his dying days preparing this. That means something. It means he was terrified of leaving us alone with them. It means he knew they'd hurt us, and he was trying to protect us from beyond the grave." "Exactly. So honor that. Give them the video." I stared at the envelope. Inside was a flash drive with the video and a letter Marcus had written to accompany it. I'd read the letter last night. It was gentler than the video, more hopeful, but the message was the same. Do better, be better, or let us go. What if it makes things worse? Worse than what? Worse than Sofia crying on her birthday because they rejected her? Worse than you working yourself to death trying to maintain a relationship they don't care about? Emma, there is no worse. You're already at rock bottom with them. She was right. I'd been telling myself for 2 years that things might improve, that given enough time, they'd come around. But they hadn't. They'd gotten colder, more distant, more comfortable excluding us. Marcus gave them a chance. He could have just written them off, told you to cut contact, end of story. But he didn't. He gave them a path back. That video is a bridge, not a bomb. It feels like a bomb. Maybe they need to be blown up a little. Maybe comfortable people need to be made uncomfortable before they'll change. Sofia peered in the doorway, still in her pajamas, both butterfly necklaces catching the morning light. Are you talking about Daddy's video? Yeah, baby. Are you going to send it? How do you explain complex family dynamics to an 8-year-old? How do you explain that sometimes the people who should love you most are the ones who hurt you deepest? I'm thinking about it, I said. Sofia climbed into my lap, too big for it really, but I held her anyway. Daddy wanted them to see it. I know. Because he knew they were being mean to us. The bluntness of it hit me. No euphemisms, no excuses, just the truth. They were being mean. He thought maybe if they understood how much they were hurting us, they'd try harder.
Do you think they will? I don't know, baby. She was quiet for a moment, then said, I'm tired of hoping they'll come. It makes my stomach hurt when I think about birthdays or holidays. I get excited, and then they say no, and it hurts again. At 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the party was supposed to start, cars started pulling up. Sofia's friends first, Mia with her mom, Jaden bouncing with energy, Ava running straight to Sofia with a wrapped present. "Happy birthday!" Ava shouted, and Sofia smiled, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. She was watching the street, waiting. Jade stood beside me, arms crossed. They better show up. They will, I said, with more confidence than I felt. The kids started playing in the yard, their laughter filling the space. Mia's mom helped me arrange the food table. Everything was ready, except for the one thing that mattered most. At 1:58 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up, Patricia and Raymond's car. My stomach dropped. They were here. The car doors opened. Raymond got out first, moving stiffly in a suit that was too formal for a backyard birthday party. Then Patricia, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes, wearing a cream-colored outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. But they were here. A second car pulled up behind them, Derek's USIV. The doors opened, and out came Derek, Clarissa, Tyler, and Madison. The whole family. Sofia saw them and froze mid-laugh. "Mama," she whispered. "I see them, baby." Father Michaels got out of the Mercedes back seat. Of course, Patricia had brought their priest as a buffer, or maybe Derek had insisted. Either way, his presence was both comforting and telling. The Rodriguez family stood at the edge of my driveway, a cluster of expensive clothes and uncomfortable postures. They looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Then Raymond did something I didn't expect. He knelt. Actually knelt, despite his bad knees, and opened his arms. "Mi mariposa," he called out. Sofia's eyes filled with tears. That name? Marcus's name for her. From her grandfather's mouth. She looked at me, seeking permission. I nodded. Sofia ran to him, and Raymond caught her in a hug that looked like it hurt, but he didn't let go. Patricia watched, her face unreadable behind those sunglasses. Derek's jaw was tight. Tyler stepped forward, his usual swagger gone. "Sofia," he said awkwardly, "I'm sorry about what I said, about being mean. Uncle Marcus, he would have been mad at me." Sofia pulled back from Raymond, studying her cousin. "You were really mean." "I know. I'm sorry." The adults stood frozen, watching this exchange between children. "Do you mean it, or are you just saying it because you have to?" Tyler glanced at his parents, then back at Sofia. "I mean it. I miss Uncle Marcus, and he loved you so much. I should have been nicer." Sofia considered this, then nodded. "Okay, you can come to my party." Just like that. 8-year-old forgiveness.